Let's jump straight to the working group. This is quite a long clip as well, so yeah, we'll see how these work out. And really, they've been talking about the treaty principles, Bill. They've been talking about, what are the principles? Damien Grant did as usual. There's no principles. You can't find them anywhere. And we get to a part where Bomber asks a question that we ask a lot. Do you believe the experts? Do you trust the experts, or do you trust? What do we say? You racist Uncle Bob from Nelson. I think Bomber actually talks about Fat Bob from the pub doing surgery on you. And that's where we kind of pick up the conversation.
Why would I trust fat bloke down pub
to
do my brain surgery?
I thought you were a lefty, very elitist.
Why would I trust fat bloke down pub to do brain surgery on my daughter?
Can I tell you?
Or why would I trust fat bloke down pub to give me the basics of how gravity...
So we're talking about democracy, and the point of democracy is that everyone gets to take part.
But
not everyone gets to decide from the top down what means what. Everyone gets to participate in it, meaning they can offer an opinion and they can, they can vote. It doesn't mean everyone gets involved in deciding what legislation is. Not everyone gets involved in writing legislation. So, think twice.
It's getting to say that, isn't they?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is that there is no reason that we can't have a conversation. Now, I personally don't think this has been done the right way. Like I said, I had a real issue with the interpretation of Article 2, which is much more faithful to it now. But I think it's still something we need to talk about. We need to go, okay, as a country, we have to go into the future together, and if we don't discuss these issues and find a resolution in which we're faithful to the treaty, but also to the fact that we're a modern country and a modern democracy...
Why would Māori accept the ACT Party redefining it for...
Well, I just said that...
Can I also say, we all know about Annie O'Brien. We know about her positions, and if you ever see her Twitter feed about the transgender community and that kind of stuff. And this, she's like, we all have to get along and move forward together. And the right at the moment in America is talking about political rhetoric. What I would say to Annie O'Brien is, how about you fucking model that first of all? How about before you try and convince all of us that we have to go forward together, you fucking model it, because your Twitter feed is toxic. And it's toxic, and it's got vicious commentary at it aimed at vulnerable people. So how about you fucking model it, and then come back and have the conversation about us all moving forward together? How about that? How about them apples?
Would Māori accept the ACT Party redefining it for?
Well, I just said I don't think that's the vehicle for it.
Can I tell you why that argument is fundamentally flawed from just my Māori perspective, and maybe I'm culturally elite. My maunga will always be my maunga. My awa will always be my awa. My pepeha will always be what it will be, and that's not a conversation that I'm willing to enter into with anybody. Actually, it's a treaty right. It's my birthright, and the reality is that for my kroa, my kuia, and my nanny, that wasn't. So until we entered into treaty settlements that I think have brought this country into good stead overall. Look, the treaty is a document that lives beyond the scope of one government, and try to change the context and legal status is a political challenge that I think is well beyond the scope of this particular government.
But we're not talking about treaty settlements here, though, are we? We are talking about, we come to the end, not that we have, but we come to the end of the treaty settlements. And what is being pushed now is taking, okay, we have addressed the issues of confiscation of land and violation of property rights.
So we paid our dues.
So he's kind of just hand waving that away. We the confiscation.
We've done it.
That's done. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Confiscation of land and violation of property rights.
So we paid our dues. We paid our dues.
So once that is done, there is an argument now being advanced that there are separate economic and political rights.
Correct.
That exist as a consequence of somebody's whakapapa.
Yes.
Now that is the issue that is being advanced currently by some individuals. And there are other people who are saying, well, hold on a minute, I disagree with that.
Yeah.
And the principles are the mechanism by which the separation of New Zealand into separate economic and political class based on their DNA, that is how that extension has been happening. And there are many people, myself included, who think that the Treaty of Waitangi does not extend that far. Now, there are other people...
and again, there's a good bit coming up here when they talk about, and what these guys do, and Damien in particular, it's all, why are they the experts? Who said they were the experts? Why are who made them experts? And we've said this before, and it might have even been in response to Damien Grant. Education, personal experience, lifespan, expertise in a particular area, and respectfully to Damien Grant, because I would say the same of me, compared to let's just use the name Professor Margaret Mutu, jack shit about it. Much like if we were talking about brain surgery compared to an actual brain surgeon, Damien Grant and Pat Brittenden, we know jack shit. So we default to the brain surgeon. We don't go, who made him the expert? Why is he the expert? And it's only because it's got these racial undertones and you want to take over the social commentary on this that you think you've got the right to say, wow, gravy train, that's not race. It's all about that. They're not experts. You want to add anything in yet, Chewy?
Damien Grant is talking a load of nonsense. I love that he's going, who are these experts? Who are you, mate?
Yeah.
Where is your grounding in this? You are a twice convicted fraudster. That should disqualify you from talking about this. You're a libertarian. You go on about property rights, but somehow you don't understand history. You don't understand that you can just hand wave away 150, 200 years of fuckery from colonial governments and just go, oh, everything's all better now. Reset the clock to zero. We're all on the same finishing line, and let's march into Annie O'Brien's glorious future where we're all the same. It just doesn't happen.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. We'll keep going because it's got about 3 minutes to go.
Who believe that the treaty does extend that far. So you're reserving your rights unto yourself.
No, yeah.
That's great, but that does not mean, that is not the end of the discussion. That is not the end of the argument.
But the fundamental point is that we do not cede our sovereignty.
There you go. And that is
not accepted.
It's not accepted by Hobson's pledge when they're trying to paint a narrative of how the English version is correct, or take little words out of Te Tiriti and say this is what it means. Like Don Brash telling you this is what it means versus a Māori language scholar and expert. I think I'll know where I'll put my trust in with that one.
Accepted by you. And it's accepted by me and many other people. And the other thing is, okay, 60% of people might support David Seymour's bill. Hey, man, I marched the streets when only 10% of people supported sports boycotts to South Africa.
Yeah.
Things change, and I'm just not going
I'm
not going to be battened down by the tyranny of the majority. I'll still argue, even if it's a minority argument.
Here's my point.
Yeah, this is very good, right? So we love watching Bomber open the door for the conversation. When he wants to go, he goes, and it's a great point by Marty.
And Māori are used to that.
Here's my point to the three of you.
Yeah.
You have a situation where the indigenous people of the country did not sign sovereignty, did not cede sovereignty.
There is dispute about that. That's the problem.
And let me go into that. There were two treaties, right? Mm-hmm. English, Māori version. Yeah. We are signed up to UN declarations that state when a treaty is signed in two different languages, you have to take the indigenous language.
Which
right?
we do.
Right? And so in that indigenous language version, they didn't cede sovereignty. Now, hold on. I'm not saying the New Zealand Crown isn't sovereign. Of course it's sovereign. Yep. And how is it sovereign? By two simple ways, people. Osmosis, they've got the taxes, they've got the police, they've got the judiciary, they're the state. And also the second reason you can say that they've got sovereignty is because every treaty signed that's been signed off the iwi or hapu have to acknowledge the sovereignty of Aotearoa, right? Now, the principles were an attempt, you're right, it doesn't say co-management in the bloody treaty, but what they did is they got the smartest people together and said, how are we going to run this if the indigenous people didn't cede sovereignty? And so they've come up with these principles of co-management, of working together.
Who's they?
And who decided they were the smartest?
The judiciary and the people who are asked to look into this.
This is it. You need to stop reading random left-wing esoteric blog sites like your own and actually pay attention. If you look at what the judiciary has said, nowhere, anywhere has the judiciary said the principles of the treaty are A, B,
No,
C.
because that left
No one's saying that.
the grey zone.
That wasn't Martin's argument.
So
Is this
hold on.
not a reason for us to have a conversation?
They left a grey zone so that those people who are pragmatic amongst Māori and Pākehā could work together, and not the ideologues who would then derail the
You're
entire
an ideologue.
situation. You are
You are the
spending
biggest
$4 million
ideologue.
on
$4
a
million.
goddamn 6-month thing that won't go anywhere. And you dare to sit here and say that that's fair. That's bullshit, Damien. Absolute bullshit.
Bullshit.
Go
There you
on,
go.
King.
So honestly, I started watching some clips from this morning, and I could have played 12, 13 minutes from it. I would just encourage you guys to go and check out the episode from last night. It was pretty good. But look, this is the thing. What Bomber said is completely right? The English treaty, right, the one written in English, actually means nothing. You know, it's a historical document that hang on the wall. The one written in Māori, Te Tiriti, is the only one that matters. Who's going to know better? Don Brash. What about David Seymour, who will not cite his experts when it comes to interpreting? He has not and will not mention any names as to the people who he has got his guidance from, right? So Damien Grant, Hobson's Pledge, David Seymour, or actual scholars in tikanga, in Māori language, historians, people who have spent their life understanding the words. There's a thing in the church world, and I'm sorry to reference this, but sometimes it's my knowledge from the past, called exegesis versus hermeneutics. And what that means is taking a word and its meaning, but also its meaning in the era. It's a really important thing to do when you're looking at historical text, understanding what it meant in the era. If people look up this era, right, the era we're in right now, and they look at the word fire that's written down in a script, well, unless they understand that some kids use that to mean it's good, unless they understand the context of how it's used today, they may not get the right translation. So we've got these academic scholars, we've got these historians, we've got experts in tikanga, we've got experts in Māori language, or you've got David Seymour, Damien Grant, and fucking Don Brash. Where are you putting your money? I know where I'm putting mine, Chewie.
Yeah, Don Brash isn't a dumb person. He's a very, very sharp mind. He has a lot of expertise in his field, which is not history, which is not the treaty.
Yeah.
He has got a bee in his bonnet. It's his personal fucking hobby. That Hobson said something that we're all one people, not written down anywhere, as so
No evidence.
eloquently stated by Matthew Hooton a few weeks ago. And it's not a positive way forward for this country. And I think this discussion and the people in it illustrate a graphic point that people have ideological positions. Sometimes they're thinking of this stuff in a complete vacuum from an ideological point of view, and they're not giving it the historical context. They're not looking at it from a human point of view. Why would Māori cede sovereignty to 5,000 people? And the idea of a ruler chosen by God on the other side of the planet, there is no way that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And we've got two treaties. It's only very recently that if we talk about having a conversation in this country, right? It's only very recently, very, very recently that we have started talking about the fact that there are two treaties. One of them in Māori is correct, is the treaty by international agreement, as pointed out by the UN. And then we have a bad interpretation of it, potentially you could say a bad faith interpretation of it in English. But that's the one that we got told is the proper one.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. And until we can get on the same page and go, well, okay, let's have an honest discussion about the treaty, which we've tried a little bit, we are not ready to have this conversation. There is not enough education in the general population about New Zealand history, about the treaty, about Māori, non-Māori relations over the decades, about the historical wrongs done and what has been done to right those wrongs. The level of knowledge is not there. We can't have a good faith conversation. And that's why this is playing out. There are people that are bad actors in this. They do not want to give up their superiority. They do not want to give up their land rights. They don't want to give up their economic benefits. We can't talk about these things from a position of good faith because there are so many people with their thumb on the scales.